Thank you. All right, the next question will be for City Council Post 2. This question will be posed for Mr. Pete. What is your economic development vision for our city, and what 3 initiatives do you think will help us be the most competitive in our region? That's the question. How about give us the top 2? We only got a minute. That's the only editing that I will do, I promise.
The economic initiative would be to continue finding, again, I'm big on communications. What do we need in Peachtree Corners? We need to continue what we're doing in terms of growing the city and zoning and planning and doing that properly. The businesses will come. The business initiatives, we need to look at whether or not we do need to make any changes in any of the tax structures or any of the business license fees. I know someone has asked me about that. Should we make them less? I don't think we really need to, but what other things are out there that we can cause people to come into the city? We've certainly been able to get businesses involved in Peachtree Corners in that we have a city and that we have our zoning and that we have the planning going on. So their businesses are coming.
All right. Mr. Chris, 30 seconds.
Well, when we became a city in 2012, the vacancy rate in Technology Park was 20% and growing. So just like we need to listen to our residents, we also need to listen to our business owners. And one of the things that the city heard was that the amenities, the lifestyle amenities, the type of housing options for the workers that those businesses were interested in weren't here. So that's one of the things we need to do. The other thing is using targeted taxes incentives to help revitalize certain portions of our city that are a little distressed at this point, up and down the Holcomb Bridge corridor, for example.
All right, thank you, sir. Senator Miller, do you still support Tom Taylor?
Yes. If you don't know who Tom Taylor is, you're not following politics lately. He's a state representative in the Dunwoody area with a standpoint. He got involved with a DUI with minors in the car. I also know the people that are running against him, or gentleman who's running against him, and I will tell you that on that basis alone, I would support Tom Taylor, or probably just about anybody else. And that's the bottom line. And I think Tom is seeking treatment, and we'll see if that works out. I certainly hope it does for him. But again, you've got an election that, because of qualifying happened when it happened, that's the choices that we have. And I hope for Tom's sake that it works out for him. And yes, I will support him. I will vote for him. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, back to House District 95. This question will be for Mr. Hilton. What is your position on immigration, building a wall, etc.? I've heard that somewhere recently, building a wall. Yeah, yeah, right.
I think
yeah,
we should
right.
build the wall around Peachtree Corners and make Johns Creek pay for it. Yeah.
Yes. Well, we get enough problems with the bridge. Let's not even get to the wall yet. All right. Please give us your position on immigration in general. So give us an overview so Mr. Loken has an opportunity to respond.
Yeah, I mean, clearly our immigration system is broken at all different levels. We have no security at the border, and we have no system of people who actually want to come here, or good people who deserve to be here, ought to be able to come in. You know, in Georgia, we have such a diverse business base. I have worked with thousands and people who have started businesses who've come here who have done it the right way. But I believe that laws have meaning, and if you come and you break the laws, my opinion as a fiscal conservative is that state resources shouldn't be allocated to people who are here, that shouldn't be here. Personally, I wouldn't believe that I could go to another country, break their laws, and expect to receive the same level of benefits that we may afford here. So there's people in Georgia that have needs that we are financially unable to address because we spend in our budget $2 billion a year towards people who are here in Georgia illegally. And I think that's a real issue that we need to address. So that's my stance on immigration.
Mr. Lowe, 30 seconds. On immigration?
Yeah. No sanctuary cities and no driver's license for legal aliens, period. Georgia should enforce the laws that are currently on the books. And look, you understand something. The bridge, the wall, yeah, it's great. That's great. That's a great idea. But look, at the end of the day, it's systemic. The problem is systemic from the federal government all the way down to the state. Now, if you tell your 17-year-old son to be home by midnight and he comes home at 2, and the next day you say be home at 2, and he comes home the next morning and you don't do anything about it, there's no consequences for your actions, this can continue to happen all the time. So that's my stance.
All right, thank you. Next question will be for City Council Post 2, but before I ask that, I just want to make sure I have an opportunity to get any other cards that might be in the question boxes. Guys, do you know if do we have all those? Oh, thank you so much. All right, wonderful. All right, City Council Post 2 question. Would you be willing to support a proposal to halt further developments on the pedestrian bridge project until after the city center development is completed and a foot traffic study can be conducted? Do you commit to share all options and costs of the various bridge, the tunnel, the crosswalk options, and hold a formal survey or referendum for residents to choose which option they prefer?
I think that's for me, Jim.
Yes,
first?
it is for you. Thank
All
you.
right. Lots in that question. Let me address as much as I can in 1 minute. In terms of sharing information, I'd like to take the lead from a city councilman over in Dunwoody, Mr. Hennigan, who does a great job on posting information on a website that he has whenever he gets access to information as a city councilman. That he shares that information, and I'm planning to do the same thing if elected to the city council, and want to make sure that all the citizens have access to the information regarding all the options that the city is looking at. In terms of putting I think the question was about putting a hold on development. Right now, the bridge is just in the concept phase, still gathering input, and as I mentioned in my earlier answer, I said, yes, this town center development needs to be well underway before I would be ready to vote on the bridge.
Mr. Pete?
Thank you. From a communication point of view, I'd like to point out that I think I was taken a little bit out of context since I talked about communication and getting more information from the community about the bridge. Before I did say, I think the city is still, I'm sorry, if I had to vote today, I was asked directly, if I had to vote today, I would vote for the bridge. But again, I want to find out more about what Post 2 thinks. I couldn't be any more clear than that.
This next question will be back to the candidates for House District 95. This question will be for Mr. Hilton. If elected, what type of youth initiatives would you implement to accommodate the interests of youth who are interested in pursuing careers in law and public service?
That's a great question. I mean, having 3 young kids myself, 9, 7, and 4, I would love to see them and anybody in the audience who has young children come down and page while we're down there at the Capitol. I think that's the best experience you can get. For me, for youth, you think about the $23 billion budget I talked about, a majority of that budget goes to education. And I think we would all agree in here that we're not getting our bang for our buck for that money. And so what I would like to see as far as education and impacting our youth is removing a lot of the testing that we have in the classroom now, allowing teachers the ability to go back and teach and have local control on what they do, still maintain the high standards. But we also want to see youth that are coming along. We are in a very different economy in 2016. I love what the state has been doing about redirecting education funds to places like Georgia Gwinnett Technical College and other schools like that that are producing students that are available to work for jobs that are available in 2016. And so we need to be smart and wise about where we invest our budget dollars to benefit the youth and the next generation that are coming up.
Mr. Lowe, 30 seconds.
You know what's great about Southwest Gwinnett County, Gwinnett County in general, is our schools. Our schools are the best schools in the entire state of Georgia. And I'm proud every day to know that my kids go to Simpson Elementary School because I know they're getting the education that they need. They're preparing for school for the future. And hands off to you, Mary Kay, for all the hard work that you've done. And let me tell you something. We are actually a beacon of education. People from all over the area come to Gwinnett County to go to school. And sometimes it doesn't work out too well for them because education wasn't so great in the areas they came from. But when they come to Gwinnett County, rest assured they're going to get one heck of an education.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, back to City Council Post 2. If the time for debate, this question is for Mr. Christ. If the time for debate was done and you had to vote today to spend the money and start construction, bridge or no bridge? Ouch!
I just told a bridge.
Bridge. All right.
Ouch!
I appreciate the question, but without knowing the cost, it's hard for me to say, am I going to vote for a bridge? Is it a $1 million bridge? Is it a $10 million bridge? So under the 3-year SPLOST, we're projected to receive $19 million directly to the city. In addition, the county is committed to $5 million of funds to work on joint city-county projects. That's $24 million of SPLOST funds. The desire of the city council, the stated mission is that we would fund a bridge, a tunnel, a safe pedestrian crossing using those SPLOST dollars. I think it would be irresponsible for me to say, yeah, I'll vote for a bridge without knowing those elements of, I see the value in connecting the two sides of Peachtree Corners across a 4-lane, at some point to be a 6-lane highway. What is the best way to connect those two sides? We need a lot more work to be done before I can answer that question.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Pete, 30 seconds.
The 30-year comprehensive study talks about walkability in this city. Talks about, then the next thing was a trail system. And there was a study on the trail system. This would be the first piece of that system. If we'd actually gotten down to the point where everybody has talked about it, it makes sense, then yes, I would vote for it. It's already been vetted through the community in terms of the 30-year plan and the trail system plan, and also town center.
Thank you, sir. Senator Miller, I so desperately want to ask you about the bridge, but I won't.
Every community has a bridge. We've got a theater over in Dunwoody, okay? And I will tell you, every community's always going to have a bridge. And there'll be something after the bridge. And so you're always going to have that kind of burning issue in a city.
Yeah.
So I empathize with the two gentlemen up here trying to answer that
Certainly,
question.
certainly. Let me ask you about the issue that is always popular, is crime.
Okay.
And what are you seeing as progress that the state is making? Where is our region and is District 40 lagging behind as far as crime is concerned, Senator?
I think that will probably be what Nathan Deal is best known for, is criminal justice reform. You heard some of the judge candidates or judges speaking up here earlier about the drug courts, okay, and the veterans courts. And we've gone from locking them up for minor drug offenses to getting them treatment. We've gone away from, if you will, 3 strikes and you're out. I'm not talking about violent criminals. So I think from that perspective, we've made a lot of progress. We're trying to get people treatment. But again, at the end of the day, we've got issues out here that we don't want to face sometimes. We just did a program at my church, Renee Arnerman and I did, and we brought experts in and talked about human trafficking. That's all around us, folks. That's a $13 billion industry, $13 billion. And Atlanta's a hub. And some of the biggest areas right now, it goes with the disposable income. And that's Johns Creek, and that's Dunwoody, and that's Peachtree Corners. It's not just Super Bowls or NBA All-Star games. So that's an area that we've got to spend more money and more resources. And quite frankly, where our churches can really be the big help. Because if you get the members of the churches involved, okay, then politicians listen. Okay? I was raised Baptist, okay? You know, I know what an altar call is. So when people are talking to me about this is a real problem, I mean, we had probably 100 people at that seminar, but we need to get people really involved. That's a huge problem in the Atlanta region, human trafficking.
You know, we had Public Service Commissioner Eccles at our Rotary at Rotary today. He said the exact same thing.
Well, he actually does a tour where he brings people around, legislators, and it's pretty I have not been on it, but the guys that have, and ladies, it's very eye-opening. Because I'm not talking about 20-year-old girls. You all understand that now. I'm talking about 8 and 10-year-old girls or boys. The ages are dropping down. They're more valuable. And some guy came all the way from Birmingham for the 8-year-old girl that was advertised. So our police forces are doing sting. Gwinnett does a great job working. I want to commend you on that, Charlotte. Gwinnett does a great job working with Dunwoody Police. They have the resources from Gwinnett and working together because it's crossing borders and lines. So, but again, that's, for me, in this metro area where we live, that's a huge area that, quite frankly, I wasn't aware of 5 years ago, certainly at all.
Thank you, Senator.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Senator.